Hello, this is Benjamin Fulford speaking on November 17th, 2023. As you can see, I'm still at home. I haven't been arrested, although apparently a false report has been put out saying that I was arrested. This happens every once in a while. They put out a report saying I'm dead or I was kidnapped by aliens or arrested, but so far it's still the original me in my original home. So, the last time I checked one of these reports about me being dead, it was traced to an agent for the Rothschilds, and it's a good guess that disinformation is coming from a similar source. But in any case, it's a lie. Now, before I start talking more, I want you to look at this clip of the face of Anthony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, at the summit with the Chinese that just ended in San Francisco. Because if you look at his expression, that is a very sad and scared man. It looks like he knows he's going to face war crimes tribunals and probable death penalty. Take a look at that, and then we'll start our report.
Respect each other, coexist in peace, and pursue win-win cooperation, they will be fully capable of rising above differences and find the right way for the two major countries to get along with each other. I firmly believe in the promising future of the bilateral relationship. Mr. President, you and I, we are at the helm of China-U.S. relations. We shoulder heavy responsibilities.
Okay. So if that expression is anything to go by, the Biden circus, the Rockefellers and the people behind him did not get what they hoped for from China. I talked to Asian secret societies about this, and they told me it's always darkest before dawn. But they also said that, they're pragmatic. They deal with the people who are actually there and, work out any deals they can make with them. So the deals they have made are very obvious from the public statements. They agreed to resume military-to-military contacts. That means that they've agreed they're not going to start all-out nuclear war no matter what. So that's a good thing. So this whole Gog-Magog scenario that the Khazarian mafia is trying to pull off isn't going to happen. So that's one thing. The other, of course, is that they've really decided to crack down on fentanyl, which is good because it's now apparently the leading cause of death for Americans between the ages of 20 and 49. It's a poison, and it's a deliberate murder attempt against Americans. And I suspect that it comes from the Khazarian mafia. The Chinese embassy in Mexico has previously said that they have nothing to, China has nothing to do with it. But in any case, that's all that really happened. Now, I was looking for tea leaves in the propaganda press about this, and what I have learned from that and other sources is that the people behind Biden offered California and Taiwan to China in exchange for more money to keep their show going. And they promised that President Gavin Newsom would be a Chinese puppet. And the Chinese turned them down. So it was interesting. Yesterday in the Japan Times, which is, cabal propaganda, they said, opposition parties in Taiwan are going to unite and they're going to defeat the ruling party in January elections. In other words, the people who want to unify peacefully with China were going to be put in power. Yesterday's paper. Today's paper, they have the same paper. They say, the former Taiwanese ambassador to the United States, someone the Chinese hate, is going to be the vice president, and the ruling party is leading the opinion polls. In other words, they offered Taiwan, and the Chinese said, no, not on those conditions, and so it looks like they left empty-handed, and the Chinese were smart enough not to, keep these people in business. Nonetheless, the fact that they announced they had raised the debt ceiling on the day that Biden met Xi means that they're still going to be carrying out accounting fraud in a desperate attempt to keep their whole show going a bit longer. It's not clear when it's going to collapse. It's hard to know exactly the timing, but it's clearly headed for collapse and disintegration, and it's probably going to be sooner rather than later. The other thing to watch for, and this could be what ends it all, is I've gotten very reliable reports both from the CIA and from the Russians that the U.S. carriers that are now stationed in the Mediterranean near Israel have only skeleton crews, and that the plan is to have an Israeli underwater drone to sink at least one aircraft carrier in order to try to blame Iran and start their long-awaited World War III Armageddon. And people are onto it. The British are onto it. Everybody knows this. So the other thing, of course, is that aircraft carriers are white elephants. They're militarily, at this point, sitting ducks. They don't have any military value, and they're very expensive. So it would be just like the World Trade Center was a white elephant. It had all the asbestos, and it would be difficult to legally dismantle it. So they blew it up. I think they were going to say, all right, these aircraft carriers, they're expensive, and let's just blow them up. And so be careful of that. That's the one thing that's going on. Now, the other thing we're seeing is we've got increasing calls for war crimes tribunals. These are coming from South Africa, from Turkey, from around the world. And I know the Chinese and Russians are working on this as well. So Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel is a war criminal. And I noticed that the head of the opposition, Yair Lapid, is calling for him to resign. I'm telling you right now, he's not going to resign. It's going to take men with guns to remove him. He knows that he's basically going to be executed for mass murder as soon as he loses power. So he's not going to go unless men with guns remove him physically, arrest him. It's not, there's no other way. And that is going to happen. They don't have the backing they need. Now, they still do have this fake money printing press. I noticed they've had these so-called pro-Israeli demonstrations where they're paying people $250 a day. That's a sign of desperation when you can't get real public opinion behind you, so you have to hire whores. This is it's a sign that it's ending, and it's going to end probably not very in a nice way. But I've heard from many sources that Israel is not going to continue in its current form. It's probably going to become a Turkish protectorate. That's the most likely scenario at this point. Now, I've been looking at the big Islamic summit meeting they had, and what I see in the Middle East now is that the Semites, that is the Arab peoples, including the Jewish Arabs, are on one side, and the Persians, that is Iran, and the Turks, that is Turkey, are on the other. So it looks like there's an Arab, Persian, Turkish divide that's in the region. But the fact of the matter is that Egypt is not going to be able to fight for the Arabs on behalf of Israel. Their army won't follow the orders, even though their president is Jewish. And the Saudis are the Saudi royal family, they're crypto Jews, but they don't have the military power to stop combined Turkey and Iran. So I think the likely scenario is that Persia and Turkey are going to issue an ultimatum, and it's going to be backed by China and Russia. The United States military will say, we're not going to fight for Israel, and Israel will be forced to back down. That's the most likely scenario now. But there is an ongoing genocide, and the death numbers are far higher than the 11,000 being reported, and it has to be stopped. And I've heard also from the Gnostic Illuminati that they really do want to just nuke Jerusalem, and that is a scenario we're trying to avoid. But they have sent this warning, and it needs to be taken seriously because these people, well, they don't like Israel, and it's interesting to see that Elon Musk of X or Twitter has started coming out more and more against the Khazarian mafia in a more and more open way. And I've heard that, he is now a frontman for the Black Sun organization. They control the Vatican and they control a large part of the U.S. Pentagon and military. And they were the ones, who were responsible for a lot of what Hitler did. And so they're very powerful and dangerous people. And right now, they are on the warpath against the Khazarian mafia. So that's something to look out for. Overall, the other thing, of course, that's going on is we're still facing a financial collapse of the United States. It's not going to be possible to keep this facade going much longer. The major banks are facing losses. About 45% of everything they hold is underwater. They're bankrupt. Citibank has started laying people off. Bank of America is stealing people's deposits. The whole thing is collapsing before our eyes. It's hard to tell exactly when this is going to happen, but I believe that we're headed for more and more chaos and infighting inside the United States. Let's see if it lasts beyond the year end. It might or it might not. It looks like they've kicked the can down to January, but remember that January 31st is their big deadline. So all they were able to get from China was an extension until January 31st. And we'll see, what happens before then. But what I'm hearing from Japanese right-wingers is that, and also from Asian secret societies, is that the group that is in power in the West does not want to hand over control, but that it's inevitable. And when they do, there will be some truly humongous changes. So in England, for example, the fake King Charles III will be removed, and we may have, for the first time since 1066, a King Harold in England. That's something to watch for. I've heard also, again, from Japanese right-wingers, is that the Japanese emperor will be replaced by a rival claimant from the Southern Dynasty, a Mr. Onodera, who might become emperor. I'm just telling you what my sources are saying, and that, of course, the Korean Peninsula will be unified, Taiwan and China will be unified, and there will be huge amounts of money for all the white hats and war crimes tribunals. This is not me saying that. I'm just telling you what a source who is connected to the Japanese top military people is telling me. I'll believe it when I see it, but I keep hearing signs of some kind of breakthrough event sooner rather than later. But I'll believe it when I see it. In the meantime, we all need to keep fighting until these criminals are removed from power. But they've come out of the closet. They're openly carrying out genocide, and they've lost public opinion. And all they have now is prostitute politicians and fake corporate media. It really is almost over. But we'll keep fighting until it really is over. Well, that's what I have to say for myself today. Now I'd like to answer questions from readers and viewers.